Story 1. Always having the newest phone. I really hate changing phones. I can't imagine wanting to spend money to do it more often, only to have the most upgraded device when I like things the way they are. Story 2. Designer clothes for babies. I am unable to see justification for €30 pants that will be worn for a maximum of 3 months, probably shorter. Instead of €45 toddler shoes with brand logo all over them, get proper shoes from a shoe store that focus on baby feet development. Story 3. Expensive alcohol. I tried a $700 bottle of wine and honestly did not think it tasted any different than a $20 to $30 bottle. Story 4. Starbucks. I don't understand paying near minimum wage for a single drink. I especially don't understand those who have a daily, or even multiple times per day Starbucks habit. Spending $2,500 to $5,000 per year on coffee seems ridiculous. Story 5. Expensive things that are not actually used. Hear me out. I have noticed a correlation between high expense and usage. The more it costs, the less it is used. For example, a friend of mine has a collection of very expensive handbags that never get used. They stay on a shelf in her bedroom. A neighbor of mine has a Ferrari, a V12 version. He keeps it in the garage and basically never uses it. He doesn't want to put miles on it. He even has the dealership pick it up on a trailer for servicing rather than drive it there to keep the miles low. My mother has some very expensive and rare china, hand-painted, which she never uses because it is too delicate. There are many examples. People buy expensive suits and then never wear them because they are kept for special occasions that never happen. Buy expensive items only if you are going to use them, but not if you are not. It is beyond foolish. Story 6. Those low-quality live, laugh, love signs with imitation white paint on faux-aged wood. Commonly found in generic home decor stores. Story 7. Diamonds. Get her a nice ring for sure, but does everyone not know diamonds are common, the least interesting gem, and the idea that it has to be a diamond is literally marketing? Story 8. Luxury goods as investments, particularly handbags. I feel that investing in brands can be very uncertain. One scandal, like the time China exposed major brands, can completely render your investment worthless. I believe investing in assets like gold or real estate, even in relatively smaller amounts, is much safer. Story 9. Cars, weddings, babies. Cars are expensive, but I cannot understand buying fancy ones. Weddings are just one day. Have a nice party, but save your money for your marriage. Babies, people talk about the expense, but there is very little you must buy new, for example, a car seat. There is so much used and nice baby stuff available if you look. Babies do not care how you dress them. Story 10. Constant food delivery can be addictive and convenient. However, I know people who have all 3 meals delivered to them. One of my friends spent about $800 in 1 week on constant food delivery for 2 people. Really, just eat a ham sandwich or something. Story 11. Expensive handbags and brands in general. I will never understand people who buy expensive brands for the name alone rather than the quality. Sure, they can do what they want with their money, but I do not see the hype with those kinds of handbags. Story 12. Weddings in India. I am not complaining because I like food and shamelessly go to all weddings, even ones I am not invited to. I am a clean, neat eater. The catering team and cooks generally like me. Story 13. Designer products are extremely overpriced, and the only special feature is the large, fancy label attached to them. Story 14. Anything that is a passing fad. We are not magpies. We are smarter than collecting shiny items and then moving on to the next must-have collectible once profits are in the downward spiral. The cost, waste of materials, and environmental impacts are huge. Story 15. Basically anything overpriced. Designer products, excessive jewelry, tattoos, piercings, makeup, especially when claiming not to have enough money. Spending hundreds or even thousands of dollars on video games. Story 16. Those high-end aesthetic water bottles that cost around $80. At the end of the day, it is just a container for water. Story 17. Coloring my hair. I tried doing it at home, but it is just not the same. I let the gray grow out once, but it was not a nice gray and made me look 20 years older. I dislike the money I spend on it. Story 18, Pokemon cards and Funko Pop figures. Funko Pop figures are unattractive and represent peak mindless consumerism purely for the sake of consumption. Pokemon cards baffle me because of the extreme scalping people engage in to acquire them. That is the most intense form of gambling currently available. Story 19. Spending your life cheering for a sports team. Not the players, they are traded. Not the coaches, they get fired. Not even the owners, they sell. But the laundry. You are emotionally invested in whoever happens to be wearing the right colored shirt that year. People say we won like they personally helped, when all they did was sit on the couch yelling at the television with nacho dust on their chest. If the team loses, it is "don't talk to me today." If they win, it is pure euphoria until next weekend when it starts all over again. I do not get it. But hey, shout out to the real most valuable player. Blind tribalism. Story 20. A brand new car every time they pay off the previous one. It is the quickest way to stay paycheck to paycheck. Story 21. Skipping content in video games designed for grinding is comparable to paying to skip a few holes in golf if the purpose of the game is grinding. Story 22. Microtransactions in video games. Microtransactions are especially common in purchase games and even worse when the game is re-released annually, for example, Call of Duty or FIFA. Why buy a skin for a certain amount when the new game releases in October and you have no more use for that skin, which was useless to begin with? Microtransactions have negatively impacted the video game industry, and I cannot comprehend why people buy these items. I am not against content patches or downloadable content that actually add to the game or game experience, but unnecessary items are problematic. Story 23. Coffee is like 50 cents to make in your office. Why pay $7 for it and have to make a special trip? Story 24. Noisy cars. How did they develop the ability to not be embarrassed? Like 99% of the people you are inflicting that terrible noise on think you are unpleasant. Do they know that? Story 25. Workout classes and gym memberships are understandable, but paying $300 per month for a gym is excessive. Similarly, spending over $200 monthly for 2 to 3 Pilates classes a week is unreasonable. I prefer my $15 per month if it's subscription for workouts at home or free content available on YouTube. Story 26. The yearly sports games, I used to love them and I hate my younger self for it. It was the same game most of the time, just updated data. Story 27. Nowadays, paying to attend a trade school is unnecessary. All trades have apprenticeships that teach you skills. You can get paid, have benefits, and avoid debt. Story 28. Designer clothes. I can't wrap my head around it. It is just fabric, mostly all made in China. It boggles my mind every time. Story 29. Trips to Disney World. I understand that it is federal law that parents must take their children once. But after that, it is the exact same place time after time, as if preserved in amber. There is nothing magical about it. It is just a 100-square-mile advertisement for Disney movies. For roughly the same amount of money, you could take yourself and your children to any number of places that are genuinely magical. Yosemite, London, Iceland. The rides are not all that great. In fact, they are disappointing. So, for those of you who go year after year, help me understand. Are you like goldfish that swim to one side of the bowl, forget what was on the other side, and swim back? Story 30. Golf is an overly expensive sport. The ratio of players and spectators per land area is very small. Taking care of a large lawn with a proper watering system and maintenance makes it expensive per person to invest in. Compared to other sports that use large fields, such as those played in stadiums, major events generate more revenue per square foot. Collectible plastic figurines are a new series that suddenly appeared on the market without references or context. Some are made poorly but sell for high prices. It is unclear why people buy or invest in them since the designs lack significance in the recent century, unlike comic book characters, Barbie dolls, and baseball cards. These figurines even cost more per item compared to new Hot Wheels, which, despite a decline in details and manufacturing quality, have been around for over 50 years. Story 31. Mountain bikes. I understand spending $300 to do a few jumps, but $2,000 for a single bike does not make sense to me. What will you do if you crash it? I feel like you have to get insurance. Story 32. The vast majority of gacha and mobile games, or any live service game with a mobile-like pricing structure, are similar. There are rare gems with good gameplay and relatively fair pricing structures. Warframe comes to mind as a standout example of what a live service game should be like based on my experience. However, most games offer mediocre gameplay and are very expensive to even approach the highest tiers. For example, compare Diablo Immortal, which reportedly costs 6 figures to fully outfit a character due to many hidden upgrades until the revealed maximum level, to buy once action role-playing games. Diablo Immortal offers practically nothing over any of them, yet it costs more than 1,000 times the price of a full-price, full-quality action role-playing game. Most mobile games follow this pattern, offering very little compared to equivalent buy-once games, while demanding an excessive amount of money. Story 33. Watches. I have a phone in my pocket that does the exact same thing plus infinitely more. I see no need to spend thousands or tens of thousands on something I already have in my pocket. Story 34. Cars. Some people spend a lot of money customizing their cars. Cars are great, but they are terrible investments. Every mile you drive decreases the car's value. Story 35. Shoes that they will never wear but keep on a pedestal somewhere. The main purpose of shoes is walking in them. I just do not get it. Maybe it is because I do not have thousands to spend on designer shoes or 1990s Nike or Adidas shoes. Story 36. Supercars. I worked for a company where the chief executive officer and owner went from a millionaire to a 100 times millionaire. He had at some point over 40 cars and supercars and had to pay people to drive them around from warehouse to warehouse. I thought that was the dumbest idea ever. Story 37. Usually, it is not hard to understand it's pretty. I want that, or it's an expected item in my social group or the one I want to move into. The latter I personally could not care less about, but pretty yarn is much more difficult to resist. I am not sure I understand huge crowd events. Costs a lot of money to be surrounded by smelly people. A concert where you cannot see anything except other people around you and hear the music over speakers, or sports tickets. You spend a fortune to stand somewhere at the far end of the stadium and see less than you would at home, watching the game with friends. Story 38. Chanel high-end clothing and accessories. I mean, she was a terrible person. If you patronize the House of Chanel, I judge you a lot. Story 39. Spending large amounts of money on a big pickup truck or sport utility vehicle when there is no actual need. If there is a need, it could be better fulfilled by a different, less expensive type of vehicle. Even if a pickup truck is the best option, choosing expensive options that increase the price reduces their utility. Story 40. OnlyFans. I felt lonely since my ex broke up with me, but I would never use it. I know some people see it as a way of getting attention, but the women on there do not actually care about you and talk to hundreds of men a day. If I wanted a woman to speak to me that way, it would be because she wants to. Besides, OnlyFans is free and does not do much for me anymore. The only person who excited me that way in recent years was my ex. Story 41. Dryer sheets. Dryer balls do the same thing, last literally forever, and from what I have noticed, work better. Scent beads are often used in much larger quantities than necessary, which wastes them and damages the washer. Laundry detergent is also sometimes overused. My brothers think you need a full cup of Tide to wash a load when you really only need a little. We use Tide Pods in my house for convenience, but it still seems like a lot. Story 42. Massive trucks that are not used to tow or haul. Many low-income people in my area spend more on their vehicles than their rent. They could own a nice house and have something that appreciates in value while driving a relatively new midsize SUV. Instead, they drive a Ford F-350. Story 43. I understand having a hobby and enjoying collecting items, but many people have shoe collections. They spend a large amount of money on shoes and never wear them. Most believe they will keep them for 20 years and then sell them as classics, not realizing that materials break down over time, especially the new, inexpensive ones. I had a roommate who spent all his money buying Air Jordans with the intention of reselling them for a profit. However, when he finally went to sell, many had started to disintegrate, and the sols were falling apart, making most of them useless. He estimated that he lost over $150,000. Story 44. Women's beauty routines. Hair, nails, waxing, eyelashes, teeth whitening, having someone else pluck your eyebrows. Some of it is necessary, but it has become a significant financial burden for younger generations. Story 45. Alcohol. But pretty much anything can have ridiculous money spent on it. Gold toilets, diamond-studded dashboard. You name it, someone decorated it extravagantly. Story 46. I got a pedicure one time, and to me it was just paying a lady $40 to wash my feet. I could see it if I had rough feet or a lot of dead skin to scrub off, but it was not something I needed to do. Story 47. Cars. Some people get a new car every 2 years even though they cannot really afford it. I just do not understand it. Story 48. Your car is an expense, not an investment. Think of it like a big pile of money in your driveway, with some blowing away every day. Story 49. Plastic surgery. Maybe it's because I am an artist, because I study anatomy myself and am very critical of average practice. Maybe it's because mainstream beauty bores me, or there is something inherently disproportional and unnatural about it. But the absolute most rare procedures actually look good to me, suit the person, or seem worth the money. It takes the comfort out of a face. Something perfect, natural, given wabi-sabi as the Japanese say. Korean surgeries break my heart. They turn beautiful individual people into strange, uncanny stereotype faces. The same goes for lip fillers in the Western beauty scene, implants, and eyelid surgeries. Rarely are these medically necessary or visually pleasing. I am not opposed to surgery for medical reasons. I do feel sad for the lost natural beauty out there. It's everyone's own choice, but I wish everyone could see themselves from the perspective of a deeply loving person. Social media has made us so superficial, we have kind of lost what matters, and it becomes clearer the older I get, the more youth fades. There are other things that matter so much more than standards. Story 50. Expensive European sport utility vehicles. I live in a country with strict speed limits and no high-speed highways. Yet around private schools, there are countless top-of-the-range BMW, Mercedes, Porsche, Range Rover, and Land Cruiser sport utility vehicles. These are continent-crushing cruisers or serious off-road vehicles that will never exceed speeds of over 100 kilometers per hour, sometimes only 50 kilometers per hour. Over $200,000 spent for a school run. Story 51. Betting and video poker machines play. I know I can get addicted to things because of my neurodivergence, so I have been able to stay far from such activities. Story 52. Travel. I would rather have a month off work relaxing around where I live or a short camping trip for 1 week farther away, including flights and hotels. It would cost similar. Story 53. All of the nerdy activities that cost way too much money. Tabletop miniature games, collecting stuffed animals, trading cards, personal computer setups that cost more than your car. Story 54. People who upgrade their iPhones every year or two find that the new models are hardly different anymore. The software is the same. I understand upgrading when the battery deteriorates, but upgrading from iPhone 15 Pro to iPhone 16 Pro is not significant. Story 55. Cars and watches. A car gets you from point A to point B regardless of the cost. A watch tells the time regardless of the cost. Story 56. Sex workers do not deserve money as they do not contribute positively to society. Therefore, stop giving money to them. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.